What's up, everyone? This is Tatum. I'm back with another episode of Tatum Takes. But today I'm continuing my weekly recap of the new Netflix Kanye West documentary, Genius. Today I'm concluding. It's kind of bittersweet. If you haven't checked out my first two takes of part one and part two, I'll put the link at the end of the video or just put it up here somewhere. But today we're talking about part three, which I think was probably my least favorite, also the saddest part of the whole docu-series. But let's get into it. The first thing I got, obviously, like I said, no particular order, but the first thing I got is them playing Wow, the record. Like if you know Kanye, like a fan back when the college dropout era and everything, it was always, and I think the song actually came out. It's on YouTube. You can find it. But Kanye West, Wow, he talks about it on Last Call. Mayonnaise color bins that push miracle whips. That line that came from that, it was so dope just to see that part being talked about. It's like a folklore Kanye West record. So it's like it was just dope to see that. Also slash the genius conversation between him and Ron Fest, and how Ron Fest was saying, like, you know, you can't call yourself a genius. Other people got to call you a genius, and it takes time for that thing to happen. And you know who's a genius? Jay-Z. When I seen Jay-Z, I thought you was a genius rapper, and then I saw Jay-Z, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a real genius. And it's just so dope that he had friends around, like, just to humble you in a way. Like, we all need that, especially artists like Kanye West. Two, that Grammy party Channel Zero interview is just like cringe, just because of the fact of, and a part of me felt bad for Cootie, because it's kind of, when you put all this time and effort into something, I can imagine him and his family like, man, I'm about to go to the Kanye West Grammy party. My man just won 6 Grammys, the most of the night. I'm gonna redo like Channel Zero. It's gonna be like this dope full circle kind of moment. And you know, it was just bad timing, because obviously Kanye West was just fucked up. like, and it rightfully so. He was celebrating. He won 6 Grammys that night. I just think it was wrong, bad timing, and the fact that he kept calling them by another name. And even Kanye was saying, like, not to shoot him any bail, but he was saying, like, you know, man, why are you even doing this right now, man? You know I'm all fucked up. Like, he was trying to say, but it still came off kind of. It was just bittersweet. I would use that. It was just bittersweet, but definitely a standout moment of part 3. Number 3, I have just the passing of Donda West. Just that whole build up to that, and to see the character she was becoming, and in his life, and just in culture in general. And it was a scene that stood out to me. Obviously, this was this whole show is about, right? But it was a scene that stood out to me where she says, with the guy asked her, like, are you fully in the manager mode now? Like, are you not a mom anymore or a parent anymore? She said, you know, like, Kanye's grown, you know, and my parenting days are over. Like, I'm still his mom, and he comes to me for advice and things of that nature, and I'm still there when he needs me for conversational purpose, but parenting is over. And I just thought that was, like, I never heard that before. Like, I never heard that before, of a parent saying, like, yeah, my parenting days are kind of much is over. Like, I'm a mom still, but, you know, like, they're grown. I never heard that before. But just everything surrounding her death, you could tell why it took a harsh toll on Kanye. Obviously, it's his mom, but you got to think she was kind of going into that life, that Hollywood life. Like, it was plastic surgery that was the cause of death. Like, so I understand that had to just be a tough thing to bear for all of them, even Cootie, because he was still around recording her while he was separated from Kanye for a moment in time. Right after that, I'll just go into 4, was the mental state of Kanye after his mother died. Obviously, when 808s came out, what was I, 2008? So, like, I remember that album, me and my friends, like, diving into it, and how great that album was at the time, man. But it was dark and it was sad, but I'll just speak for myself. I didn't realize, take into context, how bad it was. Like, when you see moments of when he's recording and he says, like, you know, he just threw himself into his work, and you see him in his eyes when he's walking past, and D-Ray and him, he's like, he didn't even say nothing. Like, just the soul has left the body kind of thing. And it was just kind of spooky to see, even when he was recording with GLC in the studio, and he was like, it's the first time that Kanye ever told me to stop recording. And it just showed that, you know, he wasn't the same no more. and not in like a good or bad way, but it was just like, I don't know. It was just sad to see that part, which is funny because it got so much worse after that. Fuck, this is all heavy. At 5, I have the mental health talk, just and Kanye after the hospital, just that time period. Well, I guess I'll call it 2018 through 2020, and just to see, man, that it was very sad to see, and just to see, how can I even put this into words? How we view mental health, it's like smoke and mirrors to me, because it's like on one end we preach all this stuff about mental health and want to uplift and being there for people and blah blah blah, but soon as something hits the fan, or let's just say keep it on Kanye West, obviously he's not exempt from ridicule from the things that he's done and said, but if we talk about mental health, we got to take that into account. And when I was seeing him in the aftermath of the Pablo tour, and it was always kind of sad. And it'll go into my number 6, which is medication. They all tie. Just to see the medicated Kanye, and I'm not sure if this was just editing, but it was just like his face was chubby. You could tell he was a little. I hate to use the word slower, but you could just tell bare minimum answers, like when they were in the car and he's talking to him, and it's just like a sadness in the eyes, right? Being around, I have friends and family who've dealt with bipolar, schizophrenia, like all that. So I know what that depression, I know what that medication does. I'm not saying I'm against medication. I'm against misdiagnosis of medication. I know what that could do to people. I know how it kind of like slows you down in a way. Your speech, your eyes are glossy, and you just look like a helpless child in a way. Like that's the sad part for me of watching this third part, was just that. I guess I'll go into another one. For a person like Kanye, who's like, from this documentary, I just think needs approval and attention. And I'm not making that a bad thing. So like even the scene with his dad, right? It was so, for lack of better words, it was wholesome, because this is after I think the South Carolina thing, and it was humbling, not humbling, but it was cool to see, because it looked like Kanye was a child trying to get approval of his dad. Like, did you see it? But remember when I fell off the bike and then you was running beside me, but I need you to run beside me now. And just things like that. And his dad like, just work on your speech next time, son. Like, it was just, I never seen that side of Kanye before. Like, rightfully so, when would I see that? But just to see that side of him with his dad, and even when he was looking at the interview, I forgot, I think it was Fox News or something. I forgot the guy's name, but he was looking at it on his phone, and he kind of gave him credit for something. He was like, boom, there we go. Like, he was just looking for some validation, and it's still, that validation thing kind of stuck with me through this whole documentary, because think about it. I need validation for my beats. I need validation for my raps. I need validation for my fashion. I need validation to dress like this. I need validation to think like this. I need validation, like, all this validation kind of thing lingers over Kanye West to me, and it kind of like saddens me in a way, because like he is the superhero. Like it's like watching, like, I guess Batman or something, and you see behind, after he whoops all the villains' ass and creates blah blah blah, when he goes home he's all beaten up, he's all alone, and you really don't want to see that of your superhero sometimes. And that part bugs me out. Like, damn, you still need validation. At this point, you're the greatest. Let's get into some happy stuff, though. Number, I don't even know what number we're at anymore. But one of the things that stood out to me was also the Making a Kiss He Ghost. It was dope to see him and Cudi in the studio, and especially with the things they're going through now, it was just dope to see them two together and, bigging up each other. And even in that, Kanye was talking about how he was addicted to Percocets. Like, crazy. But just to see them in the studio vibing, and Cudi saying, like, this album is dope. It's dope that he wants to do this album because this is my vibe, And he was saying, like, Kanye is the more braggadocious guy, and when he's popping that fly shit, he was like, I can't really do that like he does. Like, it was just dope to see that brotherhood and camaraderie. Brotherhood was another thing that stood out to me in this, with Ron Fez, Cudi, Cootie, 88 Keys, just all the people that were around. Like, we always say, like, he need a good circle. I think he has a good circle and has always been the same circle, but how much control do you have over your friends? Cootie's love for Kanye, something that stood out to me as well, just in the moments of cutting those cameras when he's ramping up. And I would think I was in a clubhouse. I think it was Clubhouse, a room I was in the other day when he was talking about the movie, and he talked about this part and was saying like he cut the camera not only for his brother, but he cut it because he wants to understand. Like he literally wants to listen. This is a moment where let me try to hear what he's saying. And he had a conversation talking about that scene in the Dominican Republic when Kanye was with the realtors, I believe. He said that Kanye wasn't supposed to be drinking because he was taking his medication at that time. And he don't know if it was a drink in that cup that he was drinking, but it might have been. And then after that conversation, Kanye got up, walked to the bar, and was about to get another drink, and Cootie came up to him and said something of the lines of, you're not supposed to be mixing alcohol. You shouldn't be mixing alcohol with your medication. He said Kanye told him, like, you're right, and stopped at that very moment. So he does have the people there, like, but it's just, man, he's Kanye. Like, he's the biggest thing on the planet. I'll just end it off with my overall thoughts on the doc. I thought it was dope. I thought it was a really, really good documentary. My only hiccup with the whole thing was part 3, just because it seemed like it didn't really flow with the rest of it. Like they could have ended it after 2 or 1 for real for me, and it would have been still great. The third one just seemed like they had to find a way to tie it up, and him mixing his real life with Kanye's story. It was like, and there was a lot of clips that were just clips on line, like YouTube. Like it lost the thrill of it being all this lost footage of Kanye when you piecing together clips that we already saw. So that was my only gripe with the whole documentary. Other than that, man, I left this documentary feeling inspired, uplifted, learned something new about one of the greatest minds we're gonna have in our time, for real, for real. When it's all said and done, I know he do some crazy shit, and I know we don't agree with everything, but you can't. History's done at this point, right? But it was just a great, great documentary, man. Like, just dope. And I hope this would lead to him like releasing more studio footages of albums, because I know that he records each album, like recorded. So I don't know, man. I enjoyed it. What did you think about the overall documentary, and what's some of the things that stood out to you in part 3? And if you haven't checked out my reviews on part 1 and part 2, just go to my page. It's in there. And that's pretty much it, man. As always, I'm Tatum. Peace.